Hi again, I'm Emily Teacher, and today we're going to read Ideas That Endure. The greatest educators are those whose lessons are still remembered centuries after their deaths. Among this select group, few stand higher than the Chinese sage Confucius. He was the first to enunciate the Golden Rule: treat others as you would have them treat you. So, we're going to talk about Confucius. Confucius was born into a noble but impoverished family in 551 BCE in what is now the province of Shantung. His father died when he was 3. As a young man, he worked as a herder and a storekeeper in order to support himself and his widowed mother. Unable to pay for formal education, he became a voracious reader whose wide and deep learning soon earned him a formidable reputation as a scholar. So Confucius was from a very poor family, and his father died when he was young. So he grew up working hard to take care of himself and take care of his mother. He couldn't afford a real education, so he began to read everything. He read everything that he could, and that helped to lead him to his reputation as a scholar. Hired as a tutor to the sons of the wealthy, he decided to open his own school. A willingness to learn was the only requirement. Lack of money was no impediment because Confucius required that the wealthier parents pay for the education of the poorer students. Many of his students went on to hold important government offices, thereby adding to his reputation as a man of learning and moral character. Almost all who knew Confucius extolled his virtues. So, coming from a poor family, when he became a teacher in his own school, he required the wealthy students' parents to pay extra so that the poor students didn't have to pay to attend school. An exception to these admirers was Lao Tzu, a man whose writings are second only to those of Confucius in their impact on China. The two men met when Confucius was in his early 30s. Lao Tzu was more than 50 years his senior. Confucius was deeply impressed by the older man's wisdom, but Lao Tzu, venerated as the founder of the religion of Taoism, thought the younger man callow. This judgment is not surprising, for Lao Tzu's concerns were spiritual, while Confucius's thoughts were focused largely on secular matters. For example, Confucius declined to discuss whether the soul survives the death of the body. His position was that because one cannot understand the meaning of life, there's no point in speculating about the mystery of death. So there were these two men, right? Confucius had a great impact, and Lao Tzu, who was much older, also had a big impact. But Lao Tzu was mainly a religious man. He's the founder of Taoism. And so he focused more on spiritual ideas. But Confucius was more focused on things of the world, right? That would be useful for people's secular lives. So Confucius didn't see the need to think about spiritual things that he could not understand. Confucius's concern had always been with such practical questions as how to achieve good government and how to best conduct relations within the family and between individuals. His answer to both questions was Li, translated as good manners. That meant those in authority, whether in government or in the family, must show respect to those beneath them. Confucius's ideas were particularly appropriate for his time because during that period, China lacked a strong central government. Despotic warlords ruled China, and their constant strife and widespread vice brought disorder and misery to the common people. In the words of one Confucius's contemporaries, the world had fallen into decay, and right principles had disappeared. As a result of his ties with former pupils, Confucius was made a minister of justice in his native province of Lu. Not surprisingly, he showed himself to be a sagacious administrator. As a high official, Confucius was able to practice Li and encourage others to do the same. In this way, he helped restore order to the land, all but eliminated crime, and gave the people of Lu a period of peace. So, in the time that Confucius was alive, there wasn't a lot of um, manners or respect shown from heads of family or heads in the government. So that was his big idea, was that those in powers of position need to show respect to those who are not in powerful positions. So as time went on, a lot of Confucius's students became government officials, and so that led to Confucius being being asked to take the spot of a high official. And in this government position, Confucius was able to help the country of China to practice Li, right, these good manners towards each other. And because of that, it helped to restore China to become not filled with as much crime, and it gave a period of peace for the people of Lu. This happy state was short-lived. The ruler of Lu province grew indolent and began taking advice from those who wanted to return to the old days. They wanted more opportunity for personal enrichment by corrupting government officials. Confucius found his influence waning. After 4 years in office, he was dismissed as a result of the maneuvers of jealous rivals. Now 56, Confucius spent the next 13 years traveling throughout China, hoping to find a ruler who would accept his guidance. Although he failed in his endeavor, there is no evidence that he ever became cynical. Although Confucius did not put his principles into writing, a group of his followers passed on his teachings. These dealt with codes of conduct based on the belief that strong moral character is the basis of civilization and that inner goodness is reflected in outer behavior. Some 3,000 principles of Confucius survived and became the basis of Chinese education for over 2,000 years. So while Confucius was not able to maintain his position, he did not give up. And even down to this day, people know about his teachings because his followers were able to pass them down. Thank you for reading with me today. We do have links that are related to each article. And if you want the links for this one here, you can find it down in the description below.